the topic that you're going to talk to the bottom, you can do that. Rohit. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Carvel Community Meeting. Today is the 23rd of October of 2024. So if you are watching this recording, we encourage you to come to join us live. We meet every second and fourth week, Wednesday, or at 8 a.m. Pacific. It's an opportunity to listen in to what us, the maintainers, are working on. Provide us live feedback if you have any questions, or if you need some live help that we can provide you with any of our tools, just feel free to join us. So for those that are here today, if you have anything you'd like to discuss with the community, just please add that discussion topic into the discussion topic bullet point down there on our agenda, and we'll go through it. If you aren't attending live and you'd like to reach out to us with questions or feedback, you can find us in the Kubernetes Slack workspace, #Carvel channel, or you can email us or find us in GitHub or at Carvel_dev. So when you are attending these meetings, we ask you that you please read and abide by our code of conduct, which is linked on the agenda on the top. For those in attendance, please add your names and organizations you represent to the attendees list. And there you go. All right. So looks like there is no announcements for today. We do have KubeCon that's going to start like in a couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think we'll have a booth there, but if you are going there and if you have anything that you'd like to share with us afterwards, just feel free to join us and let's talk about it. Next, in the last couple of weeks, we did not do any releases on a project. There was no new things. So I think that's that. So let's jump. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to talk about or say before we go to our discussion topics? All right. So Rohit.
Yeah. Hey everyone. So I've been working on this bumping up the controller runtime in kapp-controller, and over there as trying to see like because bumping of the controller runtime does bring in a lot of breaking changes, so we have to be very careful on how we update our libraries. So over there, I actually wanted to talk about the issue which I'm facing, and maybe some 2-3 ways we can probably go around it. I just wanted to discuss in the community and see how we can move forward. So essentially, as you know, like our kapp-controller, it does provide some custom objects, and some of them it tries to reconcile. So we have custom controllers written for it. And for some of them, we do the internal transformation also. So for example, there is nothing like package which we persist in the etcd store. Rather, we do the transformation to the internal package, and that is what we persist on the etcd store. And then we have like package installs or app CRs, for which we have written the controllers, which get persisted in the etcd store directly. So when I'm trying to bump the controller runtime, what I'm seeing is that all the CRs for which we have written the custom controllers, all those I'm able to interact with all those CRs, be it the app CR or be it the package install. But the issue which I'm facing is with respect to packages and package metadata. So I'm not able to create the package or the package metadata. Now, what happens is if I'm using Kubernetes, so this is only true if I'm using Kubernetes version less than 1.29, less than or equal to 1.29. And for Kubernetes version greater than 1.30 or equal to 1.30, things are working fine. with respect to even package and package metadata. So before even jumping in, so what changed in 1.30 Kubernetes version is that there is a validating admission policy which has been introduced as a stable version. Okay, and so I'll just share my screen if it's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a browser like yours. I really like to show a lot of icons on it. And by the way, hey, Rashmi, welcome in.
Yeah. So this is the one of hi. So this is one of the big change. We are validating admission policy. So instead of writing the webhooks, we can write the admission policy directly in the declarative way. And I believe it has also, even for some of the basic functions, there are some admission policies which are baked in only itself. Okay. So I was trying to debug why we are not able to create the package and package metadata. And this is where I have reached, is that when we create the package or package metadata, so because it's a server essentially, right? And ultimately we try to create the package CRD here. Like we are not creating the package CRD, but whenever there is a call to create a package, it comes into this function. So create or update. So get, okay, one more disclaimer, get is working fine. Okay, like kubectl get pkg.
How is get working if you cannot create it?
Yeah, but at least it is not giving any error. So
okay,
it is,
but like if there's no create, if you cannot create, you cannot get.
yeah,
right?
but like
But yeah,
it give empty
okay,
list.
sorry, unrelated.
Okay, so what essentially I see is that this is the method which is throwing the error. Okay, create validation. It is not something which we provide. It is something like when we have registered our package CRD REST at that time. So when the call gets passed to our create function, it comes as part of that. And the error which I get on the server side is this is the error I get. Like so yeah, if we just focus on this error. So it says it's a post call on the package, and like this is the GV, and this is the package, and it says it is forbidden, not yet ready. Write to database call failed, not yet ready to handle request.
Okay. So
yeah.
before we go, like I've just like a clarification question here. So you change to the new runtime, right? And you are getting an error when you're creating a custom resource via the API server that we created, and that only happens on versions lower than 130 of Kubernetes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And that's the
Yeah.
error that we're getting.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the error we get. So I'm just thinking like obviously this is like the error with respect to create. Okay, but then why it passes on the higher version, I guess, is because it is able to list the uh, GVK of validating admission policy. Okay, so the version, like it slowly graduated from V1 alpha 1 to beta 1 and then beta 2, and then now it is at the V1 version. Okay, so in less than 1.30 version of Kubernetes, that API is not available, and client Go, or like API server client Go, the Kubernetes client Go is trying to make the calls and it is not able to find.
Okay, so
if you see like
is
failed
it
call,
possible that this is a problem with client Go? Like, and when I say problem, doesn't mean that the client Go library is wrong. It just means that it doesn't support older versions or only support like newer versions
yeah,
after like a particular version.
it does look like it doesn't like, so if you see like this client Go, it actually correspond to Kubernetes 1.30, right? Like it is 0.30.1 version, and doesn't look like it has a fallback to V1 beta 2 in case the call fails on V1 validating admission policy. Now the issue is if we downgrade our client Go to 0.29, then we are not able to update our Go, which is also one of the possible thing we want to do on kapp-controller.
Mhm.
We are not able to move or upgrade our Golang beyond 1.21 as of today because we are just stuck because of all this. So we want to upgrade controller runtime, and we also want to upgrade the Golang. So 0.30 version is where even client Go has upgraded to Golang 1.22. So like I'm still trying to look how we can try to bypass it. Like what is actually the definition of this function? What I have reached is it's here. This is what is being passed, but it is very abstract. Like, okay. So I was just thinking, because anyway, we know that we are not going to create the packages and package metadata. Can we not do this validation?
So the problem, why? Okay, so the I'm not 100% familiar with the API, the admissions policy API. So that might come into effect here. But can you create an admission policy CR for a CRD that does not exist?
I haven't played around with that, but that was my another thought
Let
that
me check. So it's a admission policy.
So if you can like create some CR for like, because CRD will exist, right? So when we install our kapp-controller, at that time we also create one CR which let the create, update, and delete operation on the packages go through.
Okay, so there's no so I'm looking at the page, like if you scroll a little bit down. Okay, so it doesn't feel like there's like any specific like that's just like a list. So the API is not going to enforce that apps exist. The API group v1 exists. So you could create, in theory, a validating admission policy for CRDs that are not yet or do not exist in the platform. From the looks of it, right? So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for us to have a validating admission policy that affects packages or that affects metadata, package metadata. Like, for example, let me think of something. You could have a validation, like maybe not right now, but in the future, when we merge like our dependency management stuff into kapp-controller, maybe we can have some validation policies on those packages to make sure that you are providing like the package when it provides a particular part of like the dependency management, it doesn't provide another, or if it provides one, like we could create some policies around that. So in some sense, I'm just talking like hypothetically in the future, completely removing this feels like that we might be hindering us in the future, because we might have to bring it back and then we'll have to fight this problem again.
Okay, I got it. So the other thing, like, which I was thinking is, I mean, like, I haven't tried it out yet, but for example, if let's say we want to create a CR on the validating admission policy, which let the create, update, and delete operations on the package and package metadata to go through, like failure policy, we can set to warn or audit, right?
Mhm.
So irrespective of whatever we, I mean, like this is anyway on the validating admission policy binding. So I just hope, like it might happen that, we get a line in either in the kapp-controller log, which says that, as a warning or as an audit, because I'm seeing it as an audit already. So essentially, okay. So I don't think I can just show right now, but yeah. So
Okay.
I guess if we can, I think you might have something. Yeah. So this looks like some audit policy, because at least I'm getting audit ID. So I assume it is an audit policy. Like
it looks like trace, right? Because to be fair, it looks like multiple trace lines, or not? Is it just like a single one? No, because it's like lowercase message one in the beginning, right? But they are all marked as trace, not as warning or failures, which is a part that's strange, because in theory, if you're getting that, it should just move on without failing.
Right now it fails. That is why we are seeing it as a trace.
But that's strange, right? Because trace level logging should not indicate that there was a failure. And there's nothing in that piece, in that log there, that tells me that something failed, except from the message that says like forbidden.
Yeah, that's what. So that is why I'm trying to figure out, like, what is this thing actually is, like how it is getting populated. That will give better idea on how we can overcome it, to be very honest. Just wanted to see that. Okay, so we are saying like, outrightly removing that might land us in the trouble in future is not in future, right? Like even if some customer want to create some policy, validating policy, then we'll not be validating that, right? And
exactly.
Okay.
Or if they want, like, because it's not only validating policy, right? Like maybe they just want audit logs. So they'll create a validating policy and just make it audit. And so they have like an audit of whoever created the packages and stuff like that. Right. Yeah. So like the strange part here is that, so this works in 30 and up. It fails below 29 and below.
Below 30, right? So the one difference I see is all these APIs which we get as an error while registering the I guess while registering the API and priority and fairness controller, right? All these kind of messages, they do not come from 1.30 or above, right? So I believe like something related to validating admission policy definitely is happening. Uh, that's what my guess is, because over there it is
The error in itself is strange, right? Like what the error is saying there is that it's not ready to handle the request, right? Which kind of, that error in particular just feels like something was not set up or that something was not ready yet, right? Like just by the error message, it doesn't feel like that it failed because it didn't have a policy or something like that.
Yeah, but I felt somehow it makes sense because we don't store the packages in the etcd, right? And there is no, I guess there is no CRD for the packages. So if there is no CRD, so etcd will not store it.
Which is fine, right? Like I don't think there's a requirement from the moment that you can implement the API server. There's no requirement that you store anything in etcd, right?
Yeah,
Or
and
that you store that
also
CR in the etcd.
what is really weird is like we are not actually trying to store it here, right? We are
Mhm.
trying to create the resource here,
Yeah.
but it exactly fails in this.
Because like in some we do that validation, we validate the package afterwards, right?
That is
But the creation
our,
validation is just, that's like internal. That's what we
yeah,
do. Okay.
that's not, so this is okay.
So yeah.
And this is where we create it from like as internal package.
Mhm.
But this is something like I'm still trying to figure out. And there is not much because it is not being like Kubernetes doesn't extend by extending the API server very often. So not many people have faced this situation. So I'll probably also try to
It
start
might
up.
be like if it is what you're saying, like if it is like a problem of promotion of the API itself from like V1 Alpha 1 to V1. Like I was looking at a client go for Kubernetes, and they only say that they fully support the version that matches the number. So for example, version 030 of client Go only fully supports Kubernetes 1.30.
Yeah.
And for 129, if APIs change and something, there might not, it might not work. So we might be in one of those cases, which kind of feels a little bit strange that client Go is not ready for it. But yeah.
Okay.
If we want, we can sit a little bit afterwards to try to debug this a little bit more.
Sure, sure. I'll try to set up sometime. But yeah, okay. I'll
Mhm.
also see what we can do. But yeah, the okay.
All right.
All right. So the thing is like what we have ultimately reached conclusion is we should not be removing the validation. So we should continue to like how let it be there and see how we
like
can make.
the let's call it like the dumb thing we can do here is that if the Kubernetes version, because I do think we do have access to the Kubernetes version, or we can inject the Kubernetes version, right?
We
We
have
can
it.
say like if the version is smaller than 130, don't do this validation,
Yeah.
right? And like that would be like the dumb quick thing to do. Not dumb in like, oh, it's dumb. It's like the less effort thing that we can do. So that's an option. If we get stuck on this particular point, maybe that's an option that we can do, and say that kapp-controller does not support pre-stable versions of this resource, of the
I mean,
validation policy
yeah.
resource.
So maybe we can say like in case you want to uh, inject the like policies of validation, you inject it via webhook.
Yeah, and that I think it's perfectly fine. And we can just say like, if you are in a version smaller than 130, you need to use webhooks. If you are in version 30 and higher, you can just use a policy CR that exists, the admission policy CR to do that. So in the end, I don't think it's like a major problem for us.
Yeah.
Of course, it would be better if we find out what the problem is, and if it is a problem when clients go, we could create an issue, or we can create a PR to fix it if we find the problem or something like that. So
yeah, I'm trying to figure out if we can live debug the controller itself with the Go Delve. That's what I'm trying out, because that will give me greater control on the error. Okay.
Sounds good. All right.
Hey, Rashmi. Oh, would you like to add to the agenda today? I guess she's not there right now. All right.
It's okay. If you wanna add anything, just let us know. We can go through it. Does anybody else have anything they would like to talk about in today's meeting? No? All right, so I think this is going to be a wrap. So thank you all for joining us today on our Carvel community meeting. If you're watching this at home, we'd love for you to join us live, and I'll see you in 3 weeks, I think, or 2 weeks. Is this like a two-week round? I don't know. On the second Wednesday of November. All right. All right. Thank you so much, and see you later.
Thank you.